All right, so welcome to Comp 2112. Syllabus is found under course information. Let's open that up, which I already have here anyway, so I'll open mine. There's no textbooks that you need to buy, yay. Notice the way I put the percentages for the for all the different assignments. So I place a heavy emphasis on weekly stuff. If you can do something every week, that tells me that you're persevering, you're determined, you're disciplined. That's good. There'll be something every week, at least two or three things, something. So there'll always be an in-class exercise every week. There will always be a lab that's due on the Friday. So for example, today's in-class exercise will be due at midnight tonight. Today's lab will be due Friday midnight. And the quiz, I'm debating whether to do that maybe in class or maybe on a different day. I'm not sure yet. I'll let you know. There's also a presentation, group presentation. So you can divide yourselves into groups of 2 or more, and I'll talk about that in a second. So for those of you who didn't have Scott McCrindle, I'm just curious, out of my own curiosity, for those who didn't have Scott McCrindle, did your teacher talk about ES6 stuff, like let, const, arrow functions? No? Good. That's why I'm here. Okay, so I'm going to teach you all of the ES6 stuff that you should know, which is almost like a new language almost for JavaScript. Not quite, but it's definitely an improvement. Let's see here. So, what else do I have to say? There's only one exam here, the midterm, and that's it. There's no final. And then we're going to learn Vue.js for the latter half of the semester, along with some other fun stuff that the browser provides in terms of geolocation and even the webcam, I think, is somewhere here. If not, I'll put it in. So here, group presentations. What I'm going to do for group presentations is during the reading week, I'm going to list a bunch of topics online, and it'll be up to you to figure out which one, first come, first serve, which one you want to grab, which topic you want to try. It'll be like, I'll give you like 40 different topics, not just these ones here. Okay. The nature of JavaScript is changing so fast that I find that it's good to know what's out there and what's trending so that you're just aware of these things. All right. Anything else I want to mention? Oh yeah, so in my original announcement here, I had like a little anonymous survey. Let's take a look at that survey for a second. I could see the responses and all the results. I got 13, maybe there's more now, I don't know, let's see. Nope, 13, okay. So here are the answers. You've used GitHub, so therefore I won't teach how to use GitHub. Most of you know how to deploy to Azure, so for those of you who still need a refresher, maybe what I'll do is I'll record myself doing how to host it on Azure and just put it online somewhere and just put that on Blackboard. Most of you know how to do this as well. Now, I still have to talk to Blackboard, Georgian's IT person who's responsible for Blackboard, to make sure that everyone in this class has AWS. But in addition to AWS and Azure, I'm going to show you some other ways you can publish in this class. So if either of those aren't working for you, then try the other ways that I'll show you. This one here is cool. What specifically were you hoping to learn about JavaScript? One person said more about JavaScript frameworks. I'm already taking 2068, but if there's something else you can show. So the JavaScript framework I just mentioned that we'll be learning is Vue. Now, because you're taking 2068, most likely you're going to learn React. So for those of you who said React, like this person over here, we're not going to learn React in this class because you're going to learn it anyway in 2068, most likely. This one here, I'll try to take my time. I'm pretty sure I know who wrote that, Steve. So I'll take my time this semester. Well, I just remember let's see, I had Steve last class, or not last class, for the winter semester. And there's one class that I rushed, and I know He gave me a negative comment on the faculty evaluation because of that one class. So I know that's Steve's. he's not forgiving me for that. So that's okay. So this class, so I made it a point for this class. It'll be nice and slow, similar to the animation class that I had with you, but that kind of pace, hopefully. But you know what? You can tell me if I'm going too fast. Yes, good. This person said everything I can. You know what? That's impossible. JavaScript is so huge, but I'll just teach you like the essentials. UI, UX, more about middle. This person here, more about middleware. That's Comp 2068. We're not going to get into middleware because that deals with Node and the whole mean stack or the MERN stack or whatever stack. This one here, how to apply JavaScript without weighing down a website. That deals with performance. Performance is not a main goal. That's like really, really advanced stuff. But right now, we're just going to teach the basics of advanced, and then there are blogs you can read regarding JavaScript performance later down the line. This person here, I want to appeal to you who found JavaScript extremely difficult to grasp, and I'm hoping the way I teach this course this year will be slower, and I'm hoping everyone will know what's happening under the hood, okay? I realized last year maybe I did go too fast, so this year I'm going to try a slower pace, and that's why the assignment's different. Gaming, I'm going to try to make the assignment number 2 game related. Games, real life, something fun, no specifics. This person here, for the question, what projects were you hoping to do in this course? This person said website motion graphics. I taught that course with Steve in the winter called Comp 2105. If you want to look at that, I've put all my YouTube playlists here under faculty information. Here you see all my lectures for Comp 1073. Here's all my lectures for last year for this course. Here are all my lectures for CSS animation, which I highly recommend for that person who wants to learn about animation and web motion graphics. And this was my mean stack 2068, which I did a couple summers ago, which is probably obsolete now because it was Angular 6 and now we're at Angular 8. So, yes, this was funny. Something that is functional and not a failure. I don't even know what that means. Okay, so that was that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play a real short clip. And I always play this clip for all my JavaScript classes. Who here has, show of hands, who here has LinkedIn? What I'm going to show you is the power of JavaScript. And hopefully your eyes will widen in terms of what you can do with JavaScript.
Code along, and that is, I've got all these LinkedIn notifications because I never go on LinkedIn, but I don't want to have to click accept like a sucker, and also I don't want to accept the recruiters because they just send me emails about exciting opportunities. So what I want to do is let's programmatically do it, and if this says recruit or anything like that, then we don't click accept. Otherwise, I don't care. Everyone else can come on in the party. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, we need to accept all of these, and what I did is I inspected this LI, and it has a class of invite-card. So I'm going to say document.query selector all.invite-card, and that gives me a huge node list of every single person that has invited. Now that is not yet an array, so we can use ESX spread to convert that to a real array here. So that does everything that I want. Now I just want to loop over them. So I'm going to bring my code in here so it's a little bit saner to loop over. So we are going to use .for each on it. And for each card, we want to do, let's just console log card, make sure that it's still working. Paste that in, good. I'm getting a console log of each an individual card. Now I need to make a couple variables, one for this actual thing right here. So what is that? That's a paragraph in the class of headline. So I will say const headline equals card.querySelector, because now we actually just want to look inside of that specific card for the headline, and then I'm going to call that text content on it. Why? Because I just want the text inside of it, not the actual element. So let's see the headline. Great, now I'm getting like what people are, front-end engineer, software engineer. Now that we have that, we also need the buttons so that we can click them. We'll say const accept equals card.query selector, same thing. We all want to look for, what is it? There's a class on here, bt-invite set. Let's just double check that we are also getting the accept button working. Looks like it, good. Now I need to filter these buttons for anything that says recruit. So we will say if headline dot match recruit, and we want to just make it global in case it's sensitive. And the reason I say recruit is because it could be recruitment, recruiter, and the recruit will just match them all. If they are, then console log, nah. And maybe we'll also grab their name as well. Const name equals card.query selector. Name equals query selector. What is their name? Oh, it's a with last name. Nah, name looks a little fishy to me. Maybe we'll get up a little bit of emoji up here. That one looks good. A couple of them. Else, also log, name looks cool, let them in. Couple emojis make it nice and fun. Cool, so now let's do a dry run on this. Hey, what do we got here? Looks cool, looks cool, looks cool. Let's go to the first one, recruiter right here. Gen recruitment and talent acquisition specialist. Looks a little fishy to me, not something I can let on in. Cool, so now that our filters are working properly, we can go ahead and I'm just going to click the button accept. So I should end up with a whole bunch of recruiters here that have not yet accepted. So I'm going to say accept.click. That will force or trigger a click on the actual element. I'm going to run it again, one last time. Whoa! All right, looks like I accepted like 60 people all at once. What's left? There's a whole bunch of recruiters. I can go through this again, and I can select the deny button and programmatically click that as well. Actually, let's go ahead and do that real quick here. You see that all of them are still popping up. 12. There's a couple left here. BTN invite declined. And then we can say declined. Programmatically click that. If I run it again. Gone. Everybody is done. I'm off to the races. So that's kind of a fun little code along. You're going to learn a little bit about the spread. You can learn a little bit for each. We use an arrow function here. We selected the things. We triggered a click. We use a regex. Kind of a whole bunch of little things. All
right. So I'm hoping eyes open. Questions? I know you got questions because the code doesn't look quite what you learned in 1073. Give me a question. All right, so he's using a bunch of new stuff for ES6, like for example, this one here, the ... is the spread operator. We will learn that. He's using an arrow function. We will learn the intricacies of that as well. He's using something called a template literal, which we'll learn today. And notice the strings aren't the regular quotes, they're the backticks. So we'll learn that right now, pretty much almost. So let me just see my notes. Oh yeah, one thing I want to mention regarding the syllabus and in general. So whenever I give you an assignment, pay attention to the rubric. And when I say rubric, I mean like, for example, so basically read everything I'm looking for here, right? So for example, I've had assignments in the past where I have, at the bottom of the assignment of the Word document, I have this chart of what I'm looking for, and some people will fail because even though it functionally looks the same under the hood, it's totally not what I'm looking for. So make sure you read the rubric. What else do I want to say? The in-class exercises are designed so that you know how to do the lab. So the in-class exercises we'll do in class, and you can just hand it in at the end of class. Fortunately, it's due midnight tonight, so you still have more time if you want. But if you can do the in-class exercise, then hopefully you can do the lab because it's based on the same premise. And also, for the grades, when you click on your grades, I do my grades differently from most other people. Most other people, they have a checkbox in the Blackboard admin that basically gives you a false positive that's saying you're trending at 100%, but then your next quiz you didn't do so well, so now you're at like 60%, which is So what I don't like that. So what I do is my grades are true. If they're accurate, they're cumulative. So you'll start at 0%. Everything you achieve on your own, it'll add 3%, 6%. So that'll never decrease. So if you do something bad, it'll never decrease from 6% to 3%. It'll just stay at, either 6 or higher. Okay, that's the way. Yeah.
If this class started Monday and you assigned a lab, would you give them till Friday to do it, or are you only doing 2 days?
Yeah, it was like I'm open. So the question I think you're implying is.
I prefer,
Yeah.
I prefer to do the night before the next class.
Yeah, the night before the next class.
2 days is hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to get it done by Friday.
Okay, I'm open to that. Now, the only reason why I said Friday is based on, tradition, but I'm open to changing it to a different day. So show of hands, who wants the due date for the lab to be not this Friday, but the day before, the midnight before, so the Tuesday midnight, right? Yeah? Okay, all right. All right, I can do that. All right, here we go. Next Tuesday at midnight. I'm changing the due date right now. So Tuesday at midnight. There you go. There you go. So therefore, okay. In-class exercise. Should it be due midnight or should we do Friday? Friday? All right. Let's do that. I'm so easy. I mean, I'm easy going. All right, let's do that. Do Friday, this Friday. Like, if I, like, hold on, I can't do two things at once. I gotta click first before I speak, okay? Okay, so if you find that for your other courses this semester, that all your teachers are somehow assigning everything due like Friday, which is the same due date as mine, and you want to change, like you wish you had a break, you could tell me, hey, all my professors are making everything due on Friday. Can we change the due date to something else? I'm open. Okay. All right. Cool. Anything you want to do? Host your work on a web server always. And okay. So remember how I said different ways to upload something? Assuming that you've downloaded Node already, let me show you something real cool. Hold on, let me just close it. I'm just going to show you a quick way to host something if you don't want to use Azure, if you don't want to use AWS, if you don't want to use GitHub Pages, which is another thing I'll show you in maybe next week. Let's just try something real quick here. Let's open up a new folder. Attempt to, yes, go in that folder. By the way, in VS Code, here's a real simple way to create your index.html file. So once you've created your file, hit exclamation mark and then hit the tab key and it gives you a structure of the HTML already. Also in VS Code, there's something called Emmet. Show of hands, who knows Emmet? Yeah, so if you say H1 and then tab, it already fills in the rest, so you just have to put in the content. There you go. So let's host this. Now, here's a real cool thing created by a company called Zeit, is something called Now. So Zeit's a cool company, and what you do is in your command line, you just say now, and it deploys and it gives you a website. Done. So I'm going to show that right now. So this is how it works. So I'm in my folder, I just say now, enter, and it'll give me a URL in a second. There it is. Just let it finish for a sec. There we go. So if I go here, I should see my hello world. And notice the URL. So it's there, done. That lasts forever. However, you can manage it though through the terminal line. Was that? Yeah, as far as I know, it doesn't. From the website, I think there's a sentence I read here where it says it'll just be there forever unless you manage it, which you can. So, question is, how do you get this? Easy, because assuming you've installed Node. Let's see, npm. Let's go to npm now. npm Zeit now. So to install this in Node, you type npm install -g now. So what that looks like is, assuming that you have Node installed, you can say npm I for install -g for global, and then now. And then as soon as you hit enter, you'll have the ability to do what I just did. Okay, so now for the very first time, it'll ask you for your email, but after that, it'll never ask you for your email again, and it'll just publish just like how I did. Okay, so that is one additional way. So why am I showing you this? Because if you can't, if I'm asking for an assignment or a lab or something, and you can't publish it in Azure or whatever, at least you got some other ways to try. Okay, be resilient. All right. Get her done. All right. What do I also want to say? Okay, so now I'm going to introduce you to let and const, which is new in ES6. Okay. So all of you have learned var, I equals whatever. From this moment on, I don't want anyone to use var ever again. I want you to use either let or const. Okay. So what's the big deal with this? Remember how I said with var, when I said var a, let's just do that again. When I said var a equals something, right? Where did that a end up going? In the window object, right? So if I say window, that variable a went, how come it's not showing that? Oh, there it is. Oh, wow. There it is. There's my something. But watch what happens. Let me refresh again. If I say let a equals something. So if I say let a and say window, you should not see. You don't see my letter A anymore. So that eliminates the whole problem of someone overwriting your code. And that's why let and const are the standard way you should define variables from here on in. Okay, so the standard practice, best practice for JavaScript here on in is use const if you know that it's not going to change. Otherwise, use let and stay away from var. Okay. Here's another couple of things that you should know about the difference between var and let and const. So I'm going to type here a function, my function. So I'll use the traditional whatever. Okay. And then after that, I'm going to say console log foo. And I'm going to run it. And then here, I'm going to say console log. Before I press enter, any predictions? Show of hands, who thinks this will error out? Show, okay, that's pretty much all of you thinks it won't error out. Okay, let's see what happens. Enter. It errored out. Why? Because, yeah, scope is the word I'm looking for. When you use var, var is either stuck to the window, the global window, or if it's inside a function, it's function scoped. When I say function scoped, that means this squiggly bracket right there and that squiggly bracket right there. Those are the boundaries that foo exists, right? So you can't see foo from outside that function, okay? And the reason why this is function scope is because the word function exists before these squiggly brackets. Okay, so let's see what happens if I change that var to let. Actually, no, before I do that, I want to show something else. Means it's going to execute. Okay, predictions. Who thinks this will error out? No one's answering, okay. Did not error out. Okay, so what happened here, this is not a function scope. Even though you have the squiggly brackets is not preceded by the word function, therefore it's not a function scope. Therefore, what really happens is that this is actually let me just do this. What's really happening is that because this is not a function block, the way JavaScript looks at this is it takes that out, puts that in up here, it's called hoisting, and then back here it goes foo equals hello. So this foo, because it's out in the global of window, that's why this foo has access to that foo. Does that make sense? But watch what happens if I change this var to let. So let's go back for a second. So here, if I change this to let, watch what happens. Enter. Foo is not defined. So this cannot see this foo because now let and const are what's called block scoped. Block scope means whatever's in the squiggly brackets, that's its boundaries. It doesn't matter what's before it, if it's function or whatnot, or if or for a loop, it doesn't matter. If there's a block, or even if it's just a block by itself with nothing before it, you can do that. It'll just be bound to that area. Okay. Another thing that you should know is before, if I were to create a variable, and if I say the same thing again later in my code, if I say something like, if your JavaScript in this case will not complain. But if I do the same thing here with let or const, let's say baz equals 2, if I do that again, it will complain because baz has already been declared. All right? So that's why var is not the cool kid anymore, because there's just so many bugs that can happen in terms of variables being overwritten. Whereas let and const, they kind of keep you on track. Right? Because in other programming languages like Java and C++, they would never allow you to do this lazy stuff, right? The compiler would complain at you. Whereas JavaScript, for the longest time, it didn't complain. It just let you do it. Now it's getting a little bit stricter, which is good. Okay. Any questions on let and const? Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. So yeah, I was getting to that. But I'm gonna, yeah. So let's say if I say let a equals 2, your instinct would be correct if I were to say a equals 3. Show of hands, who thinks this will error out? Correct. It errors out because it's a constant variable, so your instincts would be correct. However, your instincts might be, well, let me just try this. Const a equals some object. It's an object now. Show of hands. Show of hands, who thinks this will error out? You would be correct. However, what if I said this? A dot, actually before I even do that. Question, how do I change the value of color? What do I type to change the value of color right now? A dot color is correct. Let's try green. Show of hands, who thinks this will error out? Enter. It seems to have worked. If I say console log A, let's see. Ah, it did change. Ah, your instincts are incorrect. So what's really happening with const is this. When you're dealing with, 7 fundamental types of JavaScript. Give me that list again, please. Where is it? When you're dealing with primitive data types such as number, such as string, such as Boolean, then your instincts with const would be correct. If you're dealing with complex data types like object, then your instincts would be incorrect. What's really happening is, where's my browser? What was I just doing? Where's the thing? Anyways, const is then pointing at a reference to the object. Right? You can't change the reference to the object, but you can change the properties inside that object. That's okay. So to answer your question, Ryan, if you say const A equals some object, or even some array, you can still change inside the array. You just can't say later A equals some other array. Does that make sense? Show of hands, who here has heard about the concept of pointers? Yeah, so that's what's happening. The const is, when it deals with objects like arrays or objects, the const holds the value of the address of where that object is in memory. It's not holding the actual contents of that. I don't know if that makes sense. Maybe should I draw it out? Oh my gosh, it's almost 2. Okay, I'll draw it out. So let's say you have const A equals some object. Okay? Doesn't matter what so what's happening is, in memory, let's pretend this is your memory in your hardware, right? In memory, there's all these different spaces, all these different bytes. And so as soon as it does that, there's, like, let's say this address 001, this is 002, 003. So then by saying this, it's holding the value of address 002, for example, right? And so this object is being held somewhere here. Okay, that's all it's doing, which means that you can no longer say A equals some other object. You can't do that because it's a constant. But you can still say, you know, A dot some kind of property equals something, whatever you want, because you're still accessing this, and you can just say, you know, change whatever. Is that better? Better sense? Okay. Yeah, question, Dustin.
Are you creating a something variable, or are you actually changing that?
You're actually changing it. Yeah, so if I say A dot color equals green, now, however it does it internally, it'll look for the green property. Oh, there's green. Or sorry, you look for the color property. There's color. Now it's currently set to blue. Array stack set to green. But it's still the same thing, right? That's what's happening. Same thing for arrays. Okay. All right. Next thing I don't want you to ever do is this. What is this? Where was my browser before? So I was looking. Yeah, that one. Yeah. Okay. So in your Comp 1073 class, you probably learned how to concatenate strings. So if I said, you know, var, don't use var anymore. Say const equals const A equals 2, and then you say some string equals hello, my age is, and then you wanted to put 2. How would you previously do this in Comp 1073? How would you say plus what? A. So if I console log string or just say string, you would be correct. Hello, my age is 2. I never want you to do that ever again. This is the new way to do that. So let's start with this. Use template literals, which begins with the backticks, right? You saw that in the video. Backticks is located where, who knows where the backtick is located on your keyboard? Yeah. Yeah, so to the left of the number 1. So if you look at your keyboard, to the left, the key to the left of the number 1, there should be a backtick. That's what you have to enter now. Instead of double quotes, instead of single quotes, I don't want to see that ever again. Just use backticks. And then treat it as a normal string, right? Hello, my age is. But whenever you want to insert a variable, you have to do this, $sign, squiggly bracket, and then inside here is whatever JavaScript expression you want. It could be a simple variable. Right? So string, right? Or it could be even something a little bit more complex if you want to put like, is A greater than 2 ternary operator? If so, your old, oops, I can't do that. Your old, otherwise, your, I don't know, whatever. Let's see what that does. Oh, right, because it's already, if I refresh the page, oop, there we go. Oh, and the string, right? So anything in here could be any JavaScript expression. Okay? So that is called template literals. One other thing that I'm going to introduce today, which in my syllabus I was going to introduce next week, but I think I'm going to introduce it today, is called .map. And first, let me preface this by this. So the very first time I taught this course was during the college strike back in fall of 2017. And one of my students from that class, she emails me much later, said, hey, I got a job. They interviewed me at this place called Bridge School, and here are the questions they tested me with. Do you want to see those interview test questions? Check it out. So here's the HTML page. It's blank. That's okay. Let's view source. Here's what you have to do. Let me just read them off. Write a function that takes a number and generates a list from 0 to that number. Use the function to assign a value to the myNumberList variable. Blah, 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 blah. Solution goes in here. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Write a function that takes a list of people, so here's your list of people, and gives back a new list with only the first names of people between the ages of 30 and 50. I'll stop there. But the rest of the questions, actually, maybe there's only 5 questions. Write a function that groups people's first names by pet type. So the example there is that they give you this array of people, array of objects basically, and they want this. Your function has to return something like this. That one deals with hoisting, and then this one here, given the array of uncalled functions, anyways, okay. In a future class, I'm going to go through all of these with you so that you are prepared. However, the reason why I bring it up now is question number 2. Write a function that takes a list of people and gives back a new list. As soon as I saw that, I said, they're dealing with the map. They want to see if you know how to use .map. And that's what I'm going to teach you right now. There are 3 big array methods in JavaScript. Yeah, let's look at that one. Map, filter, and reduce. So by the end of this first half of the semester, you will know how to use these. Basically, a map takes your array and transforms each and every element into something else. Filter takes your array and returns an array and returns some of those objects based on your filter criteria. Reduce takes your array and gives you only one thing, and it doesn't even have to be an array. It could be an object if you want. So these are the big 3 that you should know, because all of the interview questions that I just showed you are dealing with map, filter, and reduce. Okay, and this is what we're going to do for our in-class exercise and our lab for tonight. We're going to learn about map. So let's take a look at the documentation for map for a second. Array prototype map. So here's your array. Right? One way to think about map is it's just like a for each, almost. The only difference is, and this is a huge difference, and you have to get this, is that map returns an array, whereas for each doesn't return anything. That is to your advantage. When you realize that .map returns an array, that allows you to say stuff like this. You could say array.1 map blah 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 dot filter blah 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 dot reduce. You could do stuff like, you could chain stuff, because map returns an array, which filter needs in order to work, because filter needs an array, which reduce needs in order to work, because reduce needs an array. So you could chain stuff like that. Okay. All right, so here's your introduction to map. You got an array. Here you could say the name of the array, dot map, and it's just like a for each loop. Here they're using something called an arrow function, which we'll get into next week. It's basically a function. Okay, it's just a shorthand notation. Basically, if I were to transform this into a regular function, it would look like this. So whatever's on the left-hand side, it's really the parameter. So it looks like this. That's what that is. And then whatever's on the right hand is the return statement. So return that. So it's almost like, forget the arrow. That's what's happening under the hood. So the arrow function is just a shorthand notation, which we'll get into more next week. Okay. Let me see here. So we're going to get into this right now. Actually, what's the time? 2 o'clock. I'm judging whether we should take a break. I think we should take a break. Just let me look at my notes for a second. What should I? Yeah, okay. Before we take a break, here's the big idea. Let's take a look at your exercise, in-class exercise that's due Friday at midnight. This is what I want you to do for your in-class exercise. Click the button, add user. It does that. And now all of this data is coming from an array. So I originally had an array, let's do that again. I originally had an array of only 3 people. After insert the last one, if I try clicking again, it won't do it. It gives you that error message. So that is your in-class exercise. However, the way I want you to implement this is using the map method. Okay? Same thing. Now, if you can do that successfully, you can do the lab successfully. So here's the lab. It's based off Twitter. You just type in something, tweet, and it goes there. So you're basically adding new objects into your array. Now this one here, I'll talk about this one a little bit, allowing you to actually click it and go to actual Twitter's page here and see the results of Experience Georgian. Okay, so that is basically what I want you to do, which I think you can do. So that is the big idea. So we're going to take a break. Right now, we'll take 20 minutes, and I'll put a timer here for 20 minutes. And come back in 20 minutes, and we'll start the in-class exercise. What the heck was that?
get those stuff from you? Are we getting information from you? This is, we're getting data foundation, yes.
Yes, yes, yes. So what's gonna happen is, go to your web browser, type, api.github.com
Oh, okay.
/user/founded, and then you'll see your backup.
Oh, I see. So here's it.
Yeah, no.
So when you started, what they had,
Oh,
If you're using it, and log in.
they didn't have a carousel.
All that's related.
so did you give us these?
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna give you Scott.
Oh, okay, so you give us a, it's like, well, I thought the end is what's, Richard, okay, I get it.
I'll take the Actually, just go to the website. What are you playing against?
Alright, so that's all I need to show you.
I'm gonna go to that.
UI is very, so I added a bunch of new design. There were no best practices. I don't know what that is. I remember you told me, send me a list of how many there were, like 60 or something. So, well, you built the plugin.
Okay, so the framework, is that, is it imported, or is it just very hard coding the framework?
Well, the link, the link tag to Tachyon CSS framework is important because it makes the look, the Twitter look.
Yeah.
So that's, you have to basically include that CSS link. in your-
Okay, no, but not the actual code that they showed, and that, in the CSS that they showed in the.
Oh, the markup? Yeah, so I'm gonna.
You'll explain?
I'm gonna-
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, for sure.
I didn't know if you're just gonna go, here you go.
No. In class, I'm gonna go through it step by step. Yeah,
Alright.
yeah.
And then I feel the same way, you're like, pretty good, like, just right side over 4 months. Not really yet, but probably soon. For me, they had this, okay, design. They were like 13 all like this. And it's one thing on one of the asking is all. And
Hey, any questions?
this is, my brain is still in like co-op mode right now. But I honestly really appreciate having your information coming. But I have to watch the lecture series again.
Oh, yeah.
You can watch it. Really?
No, not me.
Yes, excellent. Let's already get a lot of Did you follow that? Yeah. Actually, the very first time I found this story.
Why?
Policy guidelines, there's so many like constraints. I think the real good reason.
I was saying, she was saying, yeah, I was saying.
I come back every summer, all tatted up. That's awesome.
No, I know.
So if I wanted to start. But this is. Okay. And it's even more so now because it's great, but incredibly like people. I took my last course, like Russia is like stupid. I went like normal for the studio. They didn't somehow. So he's giving me a share. It doesn't happen. Something literally does not happen in any industry. There's no stories about that. There's nothing like that. This probably comes out weird to you, but things just come together. So like I was stressed. Remember the one day I was talking to you about it? I was stressed out about it. Literally, and I was getting like at night. I was so I woke up the next morning, and there was a song on my Twitter that led to the song. The next morning, that was only part time. I got stressed out.
Brought it up.
This thing was like, and super stressed about it one day. The next morning, we emailed my dad. Like, I'm sorry, that's not just so, you know, and like, this entire science, like, these are the things that we don't have. So, it's like, way when he got to here, it was like, it's like, the difference between this and that period was, that's very, I can tell, yeah. The difference between here and then it's like, the world, yeah, we went, it's like, he's gonna probably be about to say, it's getting worse, like, it was just like, one second, it's like, just do it, just do it. Do you know how long it's been? How long it's been? 5 to 6 years. Alright, well, I've been thinking about it for like 2 years.
See, I wasn't too far
No, but it's very. I'm always like. I'm super. I'm a
Oh, so you have to actually have like a file called reset. Isn't that hard? And then you just really just
Oh, okay, okay. Right, so I got the look, right? Okay. By the way, I forgot to mention one thing. So the one thing I forgot to mention is in Blackboard, I provided this one link here. Type your anonymous questions here during class and I'll try to answer them. So if you're like the introvert type like me and you don't want to raise your hand, you could type it in here and I'll see it on my other screen. And I see a couple of you have already typed some stuff. So the question is, what JS concepts remain confusing? And the answers I got so far are quite a few and most of them. So if you can figure out like a specific question that I can address, that'd be better. If you're really having, but to be honest, like if you're really having a hard time understanding what I taught so far, because it's only get harder, it's only going to get harder from here. I feel for you, number one, but this is what I would do, is I'd go here, Free Code Camp, sign up for this, and go to the coding curriculum, and do all the JavaScript ones. Do everything in basic JavaScript. If you can do that, then you're caught up in this class. Okay? So sign up for this, do all of this. So look at how many things it starts you from ground one. How to comment your JavaScript code. If you can do that, then you're on to the next one, and so on. And it just goes on from there. Yes, it's a lot, but actually it's not that quite a lot. But if you can do that, if you're one of those that are still struggling from what I taught so far, then I recommend that to do that in your own time. Okay. By the way, this website, Free Code Camp, is well known. Like I've read stories where people who don't know coding go through all of this and get like a 6-figure salary at the end of it. So try it. Okay. So we're gonna take the remainder of class to do in-class exercise 1. I don't care how long it's gonna take. I'm gonna make sure we're gonna go as slow as needed so you understand what's happening under the hood, so no one's left behind this time. Okay, so I want everyone to download this zip file. So I'm gonna download it myself, put it somewhere, anywhere. Let's put it under week 01. Yeah, downloaded it. Let's unzip it. You should see one index.html file. Open that up in Visual Studio Code. So we're going to go through this together. I'm going to lead you through this. However, I'm going to be very slow because I really want you to understand what's happening here, okay? But yeah. So open up your index.html index.html file. And you'll see in the comments I say step 1, step 5, step 2. That refers to the Blackboard steps, right? Here in Blackboard it says step 1, step 2, step 3. So I'm basically saying this is where you place your code. Okay. Your goal is to emulate that YouTube clip that I just played for you. So the first thing we're going to need is step number 1, use the Tachyons CSS framework. So if you click on that link, it takes you to a certain page. We're gonna basically get this code. Okay, so now this is where I'm gonna ask each and every one of you a question. I'm gonna go across the room and just go one at a time, asking you questions, and you respond, and hopefully this will go well. Okay. Question is, and I already got asked this, is how do I hook this CSS framework in my page? So question beginning with Steve. Steve, I'll start with you and we'll go this way. So here's a CSS framework. How do I include it? What do you think? It's the CSS framework, just like Bootstrap, just like whatever. So how for any of those web pages, where would you normally find information on how to include it, their framework? Their home page, right? Yes. Okay. So right now we're not at their home page. If we go to tachyons.io, enter, there you see your home page, and hopefully you'll see some kind of getting started. Yes. So let's go to Alex. Alex, what's the line? Where should my eyes go to find out how to? Yep, so you're talking about this one right here, link? Yep, so let's include this. This is their CSS framework. Let's include this in our HTML file. Let's copy that. And you'll notice in my zip file, it says here in the comments, step 1, use Tachyon CSS framework. I guess that's where I put the code. Great, step 1 is now achieved. Woohoo. All right, let's go and, okay. Yeah, question, yeah.
If you said to me, include the CSS file.
Okay.
Or CSS document.
Yes.
In it, I would have understood.
I should have worded it correctly.
Because when you're
What?
talking framework, I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
getting CSS file.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good to know. Okay. So, let's try including, just to test, as a test to see if we got this working. Okay, let me go back to this page again. Supposedly, this should work for me, right? Because I got the CSS. So let's try this. Let's copy the whole HTML that makes this look happen. Let's just copy that whole main tag from top to bottom. Copy the whole thing. Let's paste it in our code under here. So where it says main, I already have a main here. So just delete my main and replace it with the main that you just copied. Okay, save it. Save it and view it. So let's view it. Let's open up our file, desktop, week 1, index.html file. And you should see this now. Yes? Show of hands. Success. Show of hands, failure. Questions? I want to make sure everyone's here. For those of you who are not there yet, please ask me a question now or forever. Hold your peace. Okay. Out of curiosity, let's see what happens if what happens if I were to take away the CSS file and just look at the markup as is. That's always a fun hobby of mine. Sad. Okay. Refresh. Whoa, that's what the markup looks like without any CSS. Cool. Let's undo that. Okay. What's next on my to-do here? Let's see. Use your GitHub. Right. Okay. I want everyone to open up a new tab on your browser, and this is the web address I want you to type. Type api.github.com/users, that's users with an S at the end, slash, and then your GitHub username, whatever it is. Mine is avcoder, yours is whatever you have, and you should see something like this. Success. I'm going to try something new. I've never tried this in any of my classes, but I saw this one teacher do it, and I thought it was kind of cool. When I ask for a show of thumbs, this means everything's A-okay. This means everything like you don't understand, and this means like you're kind of iffy, maybe put a couple questions. Okay. So that'll give me a good quick assessment of where everyone's at. So show of thumbs, who's got this? Okay, good, excellent. Show of thumbs. Oh yeah. Anyone have any questions so far? Or yeah, Envy. Oh yeah, great question. I didn't even think of that. Okay. Yeah. So let's try it with this. Let's try it with this guy here. I'm going to try open up Edge. No. It's not. Doesn't nothing to do with the browser, but. Oh, okay. Well, Edge seems to be playing with fine. I'm going to try with Firefox for a second. I wanted to try to get that raw thing that you might be experiencing right now, where it's all jumbled up. No, Firefox is pretty good too. Okay. You might, for what you're seeing in front of you, like, is it all jumbled up in like one line kind of thing? Okay. So depending on your browser, I'm using Chrome. So what you could, yeah. That's exactly what I'm saying. So Chrome, if you go to Chrome, like Chrome Web Store, JSON, just Google like something like this. Yeah, JSON formatter, JSON view. Let's see here. I'm using one of these. Yeah, I think this is the one I'm using. Yeah, see, it says remove from Chrome. Yeah, so I'm using this one. So the answer, Envy, is install JSON formatter extension into your Chrome browser. That will allow your JSON data to look as nice like this. Yeah, good question. Okay, so Jill, I just said the answer. What kind of data type is this? What's this called? Four-letter acronym for Jill. No, JSON. JSON, right? Mark, what does JSON stand for? Yes. Object notation. Good try. All right. So let's take a look at this for a second. Notice it has all of your GitHub info related to your GitHub profile. Like if I were to click on this avatar URL, it gives me, this is this picture that I posted for my GitHub, right? For yours, it could be whatever. So this is what we're going to do. I want everybody to copy your own JSON, and we're going to paste it in our code. So copy the whole thing. Control-C to copy it. Let's paste it into our code. So here's our code. Notice here in our code on line 197, I have an array called var people, and currently it's an empty array. This is where I want you to press enter, make some space, and then Control-V to paste your stuff. Watch what happens. This is totally an aside. Okay, this is my commercial moment right here. Watch what happens if I save this file. Control-S. Look at the indenting. Control-S. It indents nicely. You might be asking, how do I get that? Here's the answer. Extensions. Type in prettier, and then install this. As soon as you install that, look at that, 12 million downloads. This is by far one of the best extensions for JavaScript. There is another one that I'll teach you in a second. But once you've installed that, you still have to do one little thing, and that's this one here, format on save, so that it'll actually format your code when you click on save. And so how you do that is you basically have, in VS Code, if you were to say Control-Shift-P, and then type in settings, and then look at your open user settings, then you have this little icon here that looks like JSON, I guess. So you click on the JSON icon right here in the top right corner, which opens up your configuration file, which happens to be all in JSON. And then you were just to make it work, you would have to just type in this line right here, editor.format_on_save:true. So that will allow you to indent your JavaScript code whenever you click on save. Okay. That's the commercial. Let's move on. Okay, so that's me right now. I got me in that array. Let's see what else do I have to do here. Okay, so step number 2, add 2 more people to this. Oh shoot, I misread my instruction. I said here, step 2, and place them in the more people array. Sorry, I misled you. So forget pasting it in the people array. Rather, undo that. Undo. There you go. Undo. And put it rather in the more people array. That's what I wanted. Okay, so put it in the more people array. Paste that. Save that. Next step, I want you to find 2 more people to add. And I'm going to add Scott McCrindle and Rich Freeman. You could add whoever you want that you know. So let me Google Scott McCrindle's GitHub. Right, okay, so now that I found his username is smcrindle, now I can do my api.github.com/users/smcrindle. So I get that his API, his JSON. So now I'm going to copy his data, and I'm going to add it to my more people array. So next question is, oh sorry, what's your name again? Nick? No? Nick? Yeah, Nick. So I have my array here called more people. In my array, I have 1 object. How do I add, what do I type here before I add the next object? Right here in this cursor, what do I type to make sure I don't get any errors before I paste in? Semi? No, not a semicolon, just a comma. Okay, because whenever you have an array of anything, right? Let's say let my array equals something. Normally you have commas, right? So that's what I'm looking for, is the comma. So it's just an array. Oops. So comma, and then go ahead and paste in Scott McCrindle's or whoever's data after that. So now I have 2 elements in my array. It's an array of objects. And let's add 1 more person. I'm going to add Rich Freeman, which I happen to know is IFOTN. You can add, what was that? Scott's was oh there it is, SMC Crindle. SMC Crindle. Let's add Rich Freeman's IFOTN. So here's Rich Freeman's IFOTN. So let's add him as well to the array. So let me ask, person to the left of Eddie, Red Hat. What do I type here in the flashing cursor before I add my new element? What do I type right here in the flashing cursor? I'm going to add another element in the array. What do I type here? It's the same question I just asked him. Comma, right? Paste, us. So great, I have a huge, it's not even a huge array, it's just an array of 3 elements, but because it's a huge object, it looks huge. Great. Thumbs up if you got this far and you're understanding.
What's the
the last person that I added was IFOTN. That's for Freeman's. Any other thumbs sideways or thumbs down that you can ask me right now before I proceed? Thumbs down for Blair. Oh no, let me go to Blair. I'm gonna walk around. Raise your hand if you need me as I walk around. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right, any other questions as I walk around, RJ? Yes, yeah.
I just tried to like, was it supposed to look?
No, it's not. Yeah, I it's a mistake. I just said comma, like, comma, that's the only thing I wrote down. Oh, yeah. So you have to go to the Tacdom's website. So go to the Tacdom's website, like, just tacdom.com. This, include that. Yeah, great question. For some of you, like Blair, like RJ, I noticed that your VS Code looks totally different from mine when I was trying to edit the JSON data. So what I'm going to try to do now is I'm going to try to update my VS Code to match your VS Code. And hopefully I'll see what you're seeing, and then maybe I can figure out then. Let's try this out. right, let's see what I got here. Oh, I got the same thing as Blair and RJ. Hold on. Control Shift P, settings. Normally it would be this user settings. That has to be user settings. And where is that icon for my JSON? Yes. Yeah. This one here? Or this one here? Probably this one, right? Open settings JSON? Oh, there it is. Yeah, yeah. Okay, Blair. Blair and RJ. Here's your answer. So if you say Control Shift P, say settings, find this one that says preferences open settings JSON. Yeah? So once you click on that, then you should see something here already. Okay, then whatever, do you still have like, Blair, do you have like a squiggly bracket up top? That indicates it's a JSON? Do you have some kind of squiggly bracket up top that indicates it's JSON? Yeah. Okay, so just add this line anywhere in that JSON. And then your prettier will work. So let's pretend you had an empty object. Let's pretend, Blair, let's just pretend you had an empty object. Is yours empty? Like this? No? Okay. Let me go there. No. I'm just saying add one line to your existing paragraph. Perfect. So then, let's say add this comma. And say, quote, editor dot format on save. Okay, we're good to move on? All right, okay, good. Let's go, move on. Here we go. Okay, the next step is create a render function that uses the map method in order to display the data profiles. Okay, before we even get to this is what I want you to do, okay? Go to your HTML section, and right now you have a whole bunch of markup for all the different Twitter profiles, right? I want you to delete every one of those except for one set. So for example, when I say one set, so I'm asking you to delete all the markup for all of these people, from Arnoldo down to Carly, like delete them, and just leave the markup for this guy here. So if I were to inspect this, if I right click inspect that, to look at the markup, I can see that, So let's see, if I were just move my cursor up, there. So notice I move my cursor up until I notice that article is encapsulating or highlighting the whole DOM element, which means that this markup from article inward is responsible for one of these. Okay, which means I'm going to delete all of these other articles and just leave the top one. So that's all I'm asking you to do, is to delete markup. All right? So let's delete all the article markup except for the top one, because I don't want all of them. I just want one to as a template. Delete. By the way, in VS Code, one fast way to delete line is Control-Shift-K will delete a line. Okay. So I've deleted all that markup. I'm going to refresh the page just to make sure I got it right, and I should get 1. Thumbs up. Awesome. Thumbs sideways or down. Okay, good. So what we're going to do is, let me just take a look at my notes for a second. How should I proceed? My goal is, instead of this young Gatchel information, I want it to be the information coming from my more people array. Okay. So right now, all I want to do is display all three of my people immediately using the .map method. Okay, so before I even get into that, I'm just going to explain my strategy. My strategy is this. Let's go, for example, here in the console. Let's pretend this is my array, right? Equals 1, 2, 3. Just to make it simple. Remember what I said, how the .map method, let's go back again. Remember what I said when the .map method takes every single element in the array and outputs, and this is important, it outputs an array of something else, but it has the same exact number of the elements of the incoming array. That's important to know. So map will always output an array that has the same number of elements as the incoming array. So here's my philosophy of what I want you to do. Let me go back to where'd my thing go? So let's pretend, well, it's not even pretend. So right now, this markup has, if I were to inspect it, it has this main element there. Okay? Question: how do I transform my 1, 2, 3 such that I get an array that looks like this? Let's just pretend. This is my goal. Okay? That's what I want output given my input. I want you to take 5 minutes using the .map method to just work on this sample. Don't even work on Scott McCrindle stuff. Just work on this sample. What line of code can you say, it'll be my array .map something, what do you type in the map to get the output that I want? Take 5 minutes, look at the MDM documentation again if you need to. Learning is in the struggle. I want you to struggle with this. All right? So here's how to use .map again. All right. This is the new way. Let me do the old way, just so that. X something. Okay. Take a few minutes. Actually, can I even do it here? I think I can, right? Can I run this? Yeah, look, okay, perfect. Okay, just use this. So go to MDM documentation, right, mdm.map, go to this page. Notice here, I just modified this code, that's all I did, and I got the output. When I clicked on run here, I got this array as an output for this map. So transform this set of numbers so that I get, the list tags as a string and the value inside each of those list tags. That's what I want. Take 5 minutes to struggle with that. Let me put my desired output again. Desired output should be a string of list, list, 1 is in there, and the comma's in there. So in this case, it'll be 4 in there, 9 in here, and 16. So take a few minutes, try to make that happen. If you can get this, you'll understand the whole. Now walk around, raise your hand, feet up. You want to get it yet? For those that already got it, I'm just curious if maybe you could offer your services to the person beside you if they choose to need your help. That would help scale me better. Actually, this is just an aside. This is another commercial just for me personally. So just before I knew about this class I was teaching, I was Googling like what are the best ways to teach programming, best practices, something like that. And I came across a scholarly article. There it is. I came across this one. And I was thinking, okay, how can I incorporate this? It says tip number 1, okay, forget that. Tip number 2, use peer instruction. And this whole paragraph tells me that, you know, you guys should be paired up into pairs so that you can teach each other and you know, that's apparently one of the best ways according to this article, which is like, I think from Harvard or somebody, like some legit. Tip number 3, use live coding. Yeah, we're doing that. Tip number 4, have students make predictions. That's what I do so that you can feel the sting of being wrong and therefore learn better when you learn the right one. Tip number 5, use pair programming. So yeah, so just try, for those who already got it, you know, try to help others who may need your help or may want it. Okay, let's try this. What if I just said return X? Okay, if I just said return X, let's see what happens. Run. Okay, I get the same exact thing. Whip-you-do. What happens if I say return string X? Run. Okay, What happens if I return template literal X? Oh, What happens if I say H1? And I'm hoping that'll lead you to the right answer. I'm hoping I've given you enough to get you to the right answer. Show of thumbs, who's got it already? Okay. Show of thumbs, show of hands, who's still working on it? Okay. Take another minute. Struggle with it. Take a look what I did here, because I'm basically giving you the answer, right? I'm returning a string using template literals, and then I could put anything I want here. I could put blah 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 blah, right? Blah blah. Run it. Oh, that's sort of what I want, except I need the list tags, not the jumbled up letters. So I'm going to wait for, let's see, who's next? Eddie. Eddie, did you get this one, Eddie? Or did you get this one? No? No? You? No? You? No? You? No? Who's that, Kyle? Did you get this one, Kyle? No? What was your name? Fab, okay. No? You? Yeah? Are you? Rick. Okay, Rick. All right. What'd you say here? Return what?
It's a list argument.
So give me the characters to type. Backtick.
Yeah.
Yep. And then, what goes in the backticks?
LI.
Yeah, the bracket li. Yes. Yep. Yes. 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 And then the li. Okay, let's run it. Let's see if you're right. You're right. So everyone should have gotten this. What's next going to happen? So what's going to happen is this. Imagine instead of 1, 4, 9, 16, it'll be Scott McCrindle's name. It'll be my name. It'll be Rich Freeman's name. Right? And instead of the li tags, it'll be just the whole article markup. That's it. Okay? So what? Where do we go from here? Here's the next step into this. MDN join. What does join do? The join method creates and returns a new string by concatenating all the elements in an array. What's going to happen is, after this dot map is done, it creates an array, yes? If I say dot join here, using an empty string, it's going to concatenate all of these strings into one giant string and return it. That's what the purpose of join is. Let's run it to see if I'm right. Run it. Whoa, look at that. One entire string with the markup I just created dynamically. So again, imagine instead of 1, 4, 9, it's like my name, Scott McCrindle, Rich Freeman's name, and instead of the list tag, it's all the markup that goes with that Twitter look, right? Question, Emma, what do you suppose I can now do with my HTML that I just dynamically created? Where can I place that, and through what method? Actually, let me just try the first question. Where in my HTML can I and should I place that? Where do you think? Inside main, yes. So what's going to happen here is eventually I'm going to delete all of this markup of article so that there's just main tag and that's it. And then I'm going to say a method that inserts all of my dynamically created HTML, and I'm going to insert it into main so that all of this gets put inside here. So like in essence, it's like, let me see if I can copy this. So through this magical method, all of that markup goes in there, right? So Katie, what is that magical method that I'm thinking of that allows you to insert HTML inside another tag like main? What's that method, do you think? Dot, and it's kind of like dot text content, but it deals with HTML. You know what I'm thinking of? No? It's dot inner HTML. That's what I'm eventually going to say is use dot inner HTML. So we're going to basically grab this DOM element. We're going to say main dot inner HTML equals this output, and it's going to automatically insert all that into here, which means we should automatically then see on the page all three people, and that's basically the philosophy. Okay, that was the simple example with 1, 2, 3. Let us now try it with the real example. Okay, so let's try this. So Step 3 is create a render function that uses the .map method in order to display the data. So create a function, actually the function is already there called render. So create some space in here. And this is where people get lost. So I'm going to try my best to go really slow on this. Okay? So I'm just going to do exactly the same thing I just showed you with the 1, 2, 3 example. So I'm going to take my array. So what's my array right now? It's named more people. Okay? So that means in here, I'm going to say more people dot map. Okay? That's the first step. Doing the exact same thing as before. I'm going to use the old style functions. So I'm going to say function person, and then that. So question, trivia question for, is it Elena? Yeah. What is this function called, starting with a C? What is this kind of thing called? You remember from 1073? No? Lewis? No? Arya. Is it Arya? Yeah. Callback. Callback function. Yeah. All right. All right. So, right. You could think again. You could think of .map as like a for each. So that means this element will be automatically filled with the first element in the array, and then once I finish with my code, it'll go to the second element of the array. Right. So you can imagine that this person is really, for the first loop, it's really me right here. Oops. Right here. So this, imagine this object is now inside person. Question for Blair. Okay, okay. Question for Sarah. Sarah, if this person is, pretend this person is now this whole object, how do I access the value of AV coder? What would I type inside this to get the value of AV coder? Perfect. What's that something? It would be right? So for the first iteration, this would give me AV coder. For the second iteration, it would give me Scott McKindle's. For the third iteration, it would give me Rich Freeman's. Right? Okay, all right. So this is where I'm going to try my best to make it very slow. If I just said right now, console.log person. Okay, and did we call this, by the way? No, we didn't even call this. So let's call this, at the bottom, we'll call render. So similar to the MDN documentation when I just returned X and it just gave me the same array of 1, 2, 1, 4, 7. This should give me the same thing of just each person. So I'm just doing this very slow just so that you can see what's happening inside, hopefully. Okay, so let's, where's my thing here? I just had it. There it is. My console, refresh. There. You see what just happened here? I console log each person. Notice how the first person is me, the second person is Scott, third person is this one. So that is what you're doing when you're saying console log person. So the big idea is person is automatically getting populated with each of the elements in the array that I already had above. Okay, so that's cool. So just like my MDN example, this is like my 1, 4, 7, but I want to wrap that in some markup. So I'm just going to make it real simple. I'm going to say return, I'm going to do the same kind of thing here. Same kind of thing. Even though this doesn't make sense right now, I'm going to return a list tag, and inside the list tag, I'm going to say person.login, which is what Sarah said, right? And let us, actually, instead of returning it, I'm going to say const new HTML equals, and I say console log. You don't have to do this. This is just pure visual, understand what's happening under the hood, okay? So understand what's happening here is that this map, again, it takes each of the objects. I'm telling it, okay, wrap it in list tags of just the name. So now, at the end of the day, this map should give me an array like this. List, and then the first one will be AB coder. The second one will be same thing except with Prindle. And then the third one will be the same thing with Rich Freeman, right? Scott's Rich. That's what is happening with this dot map. So that means this new HTML should have this value of an array of all of that. Question bond. How do I transform all my array of separate strings into one entire string? And I mentioned already. What method? What method will change this array of strings into one entire string? It begins with a J. Dot J. And I mentioned it already. Join, yeah, join. So now, what's happening is this method will take all of this and return one entire string that should look like now, so now this is inside new HTML. So just like let's console log this new HTML. I want to see if this is true. I want to see if this markup exists in my new HTML. Let's see it. Run it. There, done. And just like how I asked either Emma or Katie, now that I got my new HTML, I want to insert it into the main tag. Right, so how do I do that? Let's document, let's say const main tag equals document.query selector main. So what does that do? Query selector main looks in your HTML, which is up here, and finds your main tag. So now it has that DOM element, right? And now I'm going to say main.innerHTML and give it what I had before. So let's try that. So main.innerHTML equals my new HTML. See what that does. Cool. From here, it should not be too hard to imagine, oh, instead of the list tags, I'll have, the article tag and all of that mumbo jumbo. Instead of, AV coder by itself, maybe I'll have the person.login. I'll have the person. Whatever other property I choose to use for this look of let's go back to the tachyons for a second. Tachyons. So basically I need data for this. So this could be your person.name. This one here could be person.login. This one here could be your person.avatar URL, right? That's all coming from your GitHub information, right? Avatar URL, name, login. So it's 3:15. I'm going to ask the class, do you want a break or do you want to just keep on moving? Show of hands, who wants a break? No one? Perfect. That's what I feel too. So take the remainder of class to make that happen so that the look looks like this rather than my list tags before. Because right now if I were to inspect this, right, It's just the li tags. But I don't want the li tags. I want oh, where to go? Did I just erase it? Oh, shoot. I want this from this article, just one article here. This. All of this, copy that, right? Go back to here, to my, where I had the thing before. So instead of list, it's going to be all of that stuff I just copied, which is here, paste, boom. Okay. So now obviously I have to make some modifications to this, but I just want to see, I'm curious to see what this now looks like now that I pasted the article tag in here. So no longer should I see the list tags, I should just see 3 markup, that should look pretty based on the thing. So let's see. I'm going to refresh, see what happens. Good. And I'm hoping you'll see, oh, I know how to change this now. Let's look for this young Gatchel here. So this is hard-coded information. I don't want this to be hard-coded information. I want this to be dynamic based on my current person. So if I said, for example, person.login, let's see what happens. I refresh, AV Coder, Scott McCrindle, Rich Freeman. And I'm hoping it'll be easy for you to now figure out what to do for the avatar and for this one. Okay? So for the remainder of class, try to get this to happen. So fix the picture to make it look like whoever that person really is. I'll come around. Okay, so what did I just do? Let me review. I took this markup article, which I purposely didn't delete before, right? And I used that as a template. I copied it, and I went into my JavaScript code, and instead of returning those list tags earlier, I returned the whole markup there, right? So this is like my giant list tag, so that's the analogy. Which means that you now have to change this one here, the @YG, and you also have to change the image source property using the same technique that I used here. Let's take a few minutes, try to make that happen. I'll come around. I just use my person.login for the YG and maybe use person.name for the first one. I don't know. Just put something there, it doesn't matter. Hey, Ian, right? Okay, I'll do the avatar now. So for the avatar, for the image source, you're going to delete the hard-coded thing there. You're going to put in the template literal of person dot avatar URL. How do I know that property? Because I looked at the API info and just it gave me this. Avatar URL gives me this value, right? And if I click on that value, it gives me that picture. So I'm just going to use that value. Let's save that. Let's go back to our page, see what happens. Refresh. There you go. Code, yeah, here it goes. Oh yeah, just call the render function. Yeah. Then maybe for the YG could be at something, person.name. You know? Or maybe I'll just reverse it. Maybe this one should be person.login, and this will be person.name. Whatever, it doesn't matter exactly what information you have. I just want you to put something. Okay, so I put all the information in there. Let's refresh. There you go. Perfect. Actually, there's still some more to do. I'm just looking at the requirements, so don't take the remainder of class to do that. We still have more to do. Show of thumbs, if everything's okay. Show of thumbs down, thumbs down, thumbs down. Okay, we got lots of people. Okay, so I'll stay here. I'm going to pause here. I'm not going to move forward. I'll change my in-class. If I have to, I'm going to change my in-class exercise requirements to not include more stuff, but just to pause here. Okay, just so that you're on board. If I have to do that. So let me walk around with starting. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. All right. Next. Yeah, I know. That's because we pretty much chose not to put the name. Next.
Yeah, she'll be. Nope. Come back. And she takes her name.
So, yeah, you put something there, like percent back in the hole. You got it right. Questions here? Okay. I just thought it's this guy. So maybe. And then stop and ask that.
I was just wondering if that's
Perfect. Anyone else?
perfect.
Anyone else? Okay. All right. We got 20 more minutes. And so this is where we're going to continue on, force our way through to this one. So step 4, make a button called add user. Make it respond to a click event so that it adds, basically adds one person to the people array and then render it. Okay, so we're going to change its whole functionality here. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to say this. Change this from more people, change that to people. So that's the first change. We're changing more people to people. Why? Because people, remember, people was defined up here as being empty. Okay? So we're going to start off with an empty thing. And then if I click a button called add user, it's going to insert one person or one object from this more people array and push it into the people array and then render it. That's the goal for in-class exercise 1. Let's try it out. Okay. So if I were to refresh right now, it should be empty, and it is, right? If I were to, just for my sanity, if I were to just copy all of this object right now, just for my sanity, and if I were to paste it in here into the people array, I now have one person in my people array, which means if I refresh, I see that one person. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take objects into the more people array and I'm going to dump it in here for each button click, and then it should magically render, right? Question: what array method takes away one element out of the array? There's actually two. There's two array methods that takes one element out of the array. Pop, yes, and what? Shift, yeah. So I'm going to use pop to pop one element out of this array. What array method can I use to insert something into that array? There's two. Push and unshift, right. So let's try that out. So let's create a button. Doesn't have to be a fancy button. Actually, I think Tachyons gives you some components. So if I go to Tachyon's webpage and go to components, go to buttons, you'll see, oh, okay, so some nice buttons. So pick any one, doesn't matter. I'll pick the rounded one. And then I want this one, so how do I get just that one? Just scroll down. Okay, there it is. So this is one example of a button right here. According to Tachyons, that's how they do their buttons. I'm just going to grab one line. One line represents one button. Let's paste it in our stuff. All right, so let's go into our HTML page. And I'll paste it. Now this is important. Paste it like above your main. Why do you think I should paste it above my main and not inside my main at this point? Because I said main.innerHTML in my code, which basically wipes out everything inside my main, right? So if I put this button inside my main, that means my button's going to be gone pretty soon. So I'll just paste it above my main. So I should have a button called, and I'll relabel it called add user. Add user. Okay. Let's look at it now. Refresh. Perfect. Add user. Okay. So question to Nick. Is it Nick? Nick's turn? Yes? Is that Nick? Ryan, sorry. Question, how do I make this, what's the code to make this respond to a click event? So, right, exactly. So first let's grab that button. Now, I'm looking at this button, And I suppose I could say, document.querySelector A, because it is the only A there, I think. But just in case, let's just put an ID there, ID of add user. So I'm just going to add an attribute called ID add user, so I can easily query select that. So in my JavaScript code, somewhere down here, let's say, let's see here, maybe before my. Maybe around here. Yeah, I'll just put it on the top here. Const button equals document.querySelector, and I'm looking for add user because that's what I said. But because it was an ID, I have to put a hashtag. Right. So now button now represents that actual button. So now I can do what Ryan said, which is button.addEventListener_click. So let me put that. I can put that anywhere, but I like to put my add event listeners near the bottom. So I'll put it maybe around here. Button add event listener click. And I'm going to run a function called add one more. There it is. I already defined that function up here, just above it. Add one more. And so what do we want to do? We want to pop from one array and push that popped item into the other array. So how do I do that? So how do I pop? I just basically more people.pop, right? So what that does is it takes away one element from the end of the array. So now imagine this is like Scott McCrindle's object. So now if I want to push Scott McCrindle's object into the people array, I just have to say, what RJ? Well, how do I do that? If I want to insert this into the people array by pushing it, what do I say? No? People.push Scott McCrindle. Let's pretend this is Scott McCrindle, right? We could do that. And then we'll render it. We'll call render again. Okay. Before we do that, and I'm pretty sure you reviewed this in Comp 1073, the problem right now is our button currently is a link, right? And normally what happens when you click links, it goes somewhere. Where do they want to go? They want to go to whoever href is. We want to prevent that from happening. How do I prevent that from happening in this code? Right here. You notice I put the E there. What should I put to prevent that from happening? Let me try envy. Envy, what should I put here to prevent the normal link from going somewhere? It's E dot something. Does anyone know? Dustin? Yes. Prevent default. Remember that from 1073? Yes? So what that does is, I realize you clicked the A tag, which normally links out somewhere, but this line prevents it from linking out anywhere. There is no GET request, right? Okay, that is it. Let's see if it works. Let's go back, refresh, add user, add user, add user, add user, nothing. That is basically in-class exercise. Okay. I'm feeling the weight of your brain waves, and I'm feeling that I didn't do a good job again in terms of making it clear, or either that I'm going too fast again. Now I did record this, by the way. I did record, and I am recording this. I will publish this on YouTube. So go, submit this as your in-class exercise due Friday. And then the lab, which is due whenever it is later, is based on the same kind of principles, except you're just, typing something, clicking the tweet button, and then you see the results of your tweet, just like how you see the results of these ones, right? So when you click on the tweet, you see your tweet here. You type something, click on tweet, you see the tweet there, right? That's basically it. So same kind of principle, okay? I'm gonna see how you do for your lab, and I'll adjust my pace for next class based on how well you do. Okay, maybe I'm going too fast, maybe I should really slow it down, but I thought I slowed it down enough. Maybe okay, one other tip. This is a very good tip for all of you on seeing what's happening under the hood. If you were to write somewhere in your code the word debugger. So let's try this. Write the word debugger right there. Okay? I'm going to show you the proper way to debug. So you write debugger anywhere, and what happens is when your browser loads the script here, it's going to stop when it sees debugger, and it's going to show you the line of code where that is. So check it out. Now, in order to make this happen, you have to have your console open. So let's refresh. Refresh, there, it stopped, right there, debugger. Okay? Now to look at what's happening is you just click on this arrow down to go to the next line. Okay? So right now, my markup is full of all these li tags, so this is inside my main tag, which is going to get obliterated in a second. So I'm going to step down, It's going to this line, document.querySelector. Notice all of these right-hand side things here. It's going to tell you the variables that you should keep an eye on. So let's just keep on going down. So now that it finished this button, notice here, oh, I just had it. There it is. Notice here, look. The result of running this line is now btn is now a variable, and it represents, notice if when I hover over this, it hovers over the add user button, meaning it got it, right? It's successful, it's that dominant. So now it's going to define an empty people array, so let's go to the next line. So let's see, where's the people array here? Is it under global? Was it under global? Did I use var for people or no? Anyways, let's keep on going. That's not important. Just keep on going. It defines more people, so it just did that. It put more people in the array. And I wish, what did I say? Hold on, time out. What did I say for? Oh, I said var. That's why. Let me try this. Let me refresh again. Sorry. Refresh. Try it again. There. That's what I wanted. I wanted the people array right there, so I could see it. Down. I got more people. Look, more people. I got all 3 people in that array. Great. Now it's down here. It's going to bind the click event to the button, and when that happens, it'll run add one more. Okay, done. It now knows that if a click event happens, it'll run this code called add one more. It'll run render. Now it's going to do the render. Go. So now it's inside the function render, right? So now it's saying const new HTML equals people. Okay. Now this is associated with the dot map. So here's where it gets tricky with the dot map, and I'm hoping that this will help you open your eyes to see what's happening with the dot map. Okay. Oh, that just went so fast that I didn't have a chance to see what's happening. I should have. Can I go back? Shoot. Hold on. I want the debugger not to go there. I want the debugger to go right here for the map. Here. Refresh. And where did it stop? Shoot. Instead of clicking the down arrow, I'm going to click on this other arrow for the map. Okay, we're here at the map. So my mistake was clicking this. I'm hoping that this arrow will give me what I want, maybe. Oh, still went down there. That's not good. Okay. I was hoping the map would give you details of what was happening under the hood. Do that. I know there's a way to do it because I did it last semester, so I'm not sure why it's not showing it this time. But anyways, keep that in mind using the debugger so you can see the variables as it's going through line by line, and you can click on the down arrow to see your step-by-step. But that is exercise 1. Let me give you a few hints for the lab. So this is, again, the lab right? So question, how do you grab whatever was typed in this text area? What's the method? So let's pretend I grab this text area called, const text area equals document.querySelector text area. So now I have a variable called text area. What's the method? Text area dot what will allow me to get what was typed, and I heard it. What was that? Text content. For an input text area box, dot value, the dot value. The text content would work if it was like an H1 tag, but for the text area input box, it's dot value. Okay, so I can grab stuff from using the dot value. So then now I can grab hello world. So what do you think is happening when I click on tweet? I'm basically creating on the fly an object that looks like this. So when tweet happens, I'm basically saying, my array, whatever it was, dot push, right? And instead of pushing Scott Merpindle, I'm pushing like tweet text area dot value, something like that, right? That's what's happening. But it's basically the same thing as this function here. Right? So after I push my tweet, I render it immediately, and I should see the results. Now I'm hoping that'll come across. We'll see how you do in the lab, and I'll adjust my pace. Yeah, Dustin. Oh yeah, originally I did. I think, I don't know. I think you've gotten, I'm getting the sense that it's already a lot. So maybe I'll leave it as a bonus mark or something. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Oops, not that one. Which one was it? Oh yeah, it was this one, yeah. So this step number 5 for notification sounds, I'm going to make that, I'm going to delete that as a requirement, and I'm just going to make that a bonus. Okay. Let me show you real quick how to play sounds if you want to attempt the bonus mark. Let's pretend I had an MP3 file right here. I'm just going to make it up, okay? So if I said sound.mp3, let's pretend, right? In your script, actually, there's 2 ways to do it. I'm going to show you the way I did it. In your HTML, somewhere in your HTML, like maybe around here, you can say audio tag, and then point this to your sound.mp3. That's the first step. The second step is in your script, you can say, const something equals document.querySelector, whatever. You could put an ID there, and then to simply play it, you just say audio.play. That's it. Okay. You may also want to consider saying, before you play, you may want to rewind it. Rewind the audio just in case it's already playing something and you want to click the button fast and you want it to play immediately rather than wait till the sound clip finishes and then playing. So you may want to say this as well. But that's the essential thing. And I'll leave that as a bonus if you can get that to work. And the sounds, you're getting the sounds from this website here called Notification Sounds. So just pick 3 sounds. Or 2 sounds, one for good, one for error. Okay. And now that's it, 3:46. So final show of thumbs in terms of how they feel. Give me thumbs up, thumbs down, or sideways. What do you think? Thumbs down, thumbs up, thumbs up, sideways, sideways, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. So, okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. All right, any final questions? Again, I'm going to put this in YouTube so you can examine it. Any final questions, comments? Yeah, Nick, right? Oh, yeah, my YouTube username, it's some long thing that I don't even know, so I'm just going to post the link in Blackboard. Yeah. Cool? All right. Good luck.